Good evening, everybody, and welcome to today's session of Roznama. Today is the 18th of March, and without wasting any further time, we'll quickly begin with the analysis for today. Now, again, today, like the previous days, we do have certain news pieces on the Iran crisis and the Iran war that is going on right now. And yesterday, it was reported that Iran's security chief, Ali Larijani, has been killed. All right, now Ali Larijani is one of the most prominent figures who was actually leading the paramilitary forces of Iran, which is the Basij militia. Okay, you do please keep in mind that we have the IRGC, that is the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, and we have the Basij militia. Basij militia is the paramilitary forces of Iran, and IRGC is that particular force which has been specifically made to undertake the protection of the Ayatollah. Okay, so he has been killed, and he was one of the most prominent figures. All right, then here we have Joe Kent, who was serving as United Nations one of the most most important and prominent counter-terrorism officers, and he has resigned. Why has he resigned? Is because his wife was he's just resigned because he had this major fall off, and he said that everything that, and he's given this major statement saying that everything that all this crisis and war that the United States of America is actually engaging in Iran is not because US has any personal vested interest in Iran. It is only to satisfy the war aims of Israel. And he's also issued a statement. He's given this entire interview where he said that Iran poses no significant direct threat to USA. It is only because of Israel that Iran is involved in this war. Then today in the Indian Express, we have this good detailed information as to who was Ali Larijani, his entire life history, and how he initially was born in Najaf in Iraq, and then he migrated to Iran, where he finished off his philosophy doctorate, and then he was a former member of Iran's Revolutionary Guard, and where he served as the chief nuclear negotiator, and then eventually he went on to become the head of the secretary of the Supreme National Security Council. Okay, and then eventually he's lost his life yesterday. All right. The same piece of news has been continued in different newspapers. Then Israel is continuously striking Tehran, that is the capital of Iran, is also undertaking attacks on Lebanon's capital Beirut, because Lebanon is believed to house Hezbollah, and Hezbollah is also one major anti-Israel grouping. Okay, so again, just keeps on giving us major information on the different war areas that are undertaking. And then again, the same piece of news from the Hindu, where Joe Kent has issued this statement that he has resigned, and he's issued the statement saying that Iran poses no direct threat to the United States of America, and it is obviously only Israel's vested interest that is being satisfied by the United States of America. Then this particular news piece, day before yesterday, we had this one major news piece where Donald Trump had said that he had called on to a large number of counterparts like France, China, etc., and asked them to send their warships to the Strait of Hormuz region, so that Iran is unsuccessful in blocking the Strait of Hormuz, and the entire oil and gas supplies of the world is not hindered. And not only did he do this, he had also called up on the NATO members to send their concerted forces in this particular region and fight the war against Iran. And NATO members had outrightly refused, that they do not want to be a part of all this crisis that has been built up by the United States and Israel alone. So that also he has issued a statement against, saying that it is an absolutely foolish mistake and absolutely foolish of the NATO members to not send concerted warships to the region. Okay. About NATO, do remember that it was established on the 4th of April 1949, and this particular organization was established during the Cold War period. Do remember 1949, during the Cold War period, and it was basically a military alliance of America, that is USA, plus the Western European countries against the influence of USSR. Okay. And presently NATO has some 32 members. The latest countries to join NATO have been Sweden and Finland, okay, after the Russia-Ukraine war began, all right. And then one particular information about NATO is that you have to keep in mind Article 5. Article 5 of NATO provides or makes the provision of collective security. Collective security principle simply implies that an attack on any one of the members of NATO will be considered as an attack on all the members of NATO, and then all members are going to collectively undertake a concerted attack against that aggressor country. So at par with Article 5 of NATO, the United States of America could have called for help and has been calling for help against the Iranian attack. But NATO has refused because Iran did not attack US. US undertook this attack on Iran. Okay. All right. Then we also have this crisis in our neighborhood. Pakistan and Afghanistan, they have been fighting over certain autonomous regions, and also Pakistan keeps on claiming that Afghanistan is sponsoring Pakistan Taliban, that is an terror organization in Pakistan, and then they have this entire difference along the Durand line between Pakistan and Afghanistan, and also between India and Afghanistan. So yesterday, the war has been on the last fortnight, and yesterday Pakistan has undertook a concerted bombing of a hospital in Afghanistan, which has resulted in killing of 400 people. Okay, and then India has issued a statement condemning this terror attack on the hospital in Afghanistan and called it a massacre dressed up as an operation. What is the name of the operation that Pakistan has undertaken against Afghanistan? It is Operation Ghazab Lil Haq. Okay, do keep in mind the name of the operation. All right. Then the same thing in another newspaper. All right. Then around 8 Lok Sabha MPs of the opposition were suspended on 3rd of February for unruly behavior that they did not, their entire way of speaking and everything did not keep in line with the basic decorum of the house, and the speaker of the Lok Sabha suspended these MPs. So now their suspension has been revoked and they have returned to the parliament. Why is this important? Just keep in mind that how MPs of the Lok Sabha or the Raj Sabha can be suspended. So in case of the Lok Sabha, this power is vested in the speaker to suspend any MP on grounds of unruly behavior, or if they are violating the basic laws and rules of parliamentary decorum. In the Lok Sabha, it is undertaken by the speaker. In the chairman, it is in the Raj Sabha, it is undertaken by the chairman. Also, this suspension provision is not mentioned in the constitution. The entire provision for suspending MPs is drawn from rules of procedure and conduct of business. Okay, rules of procedure and conduct of business of Lok Sabha, and under this rules 373, rules 374 and 374A. These are the 3 rules which provide or make the basic provision for suspension of an MP, and under Article 3, rule number 374A, the speaker can undertake suspension of an MP from the Lok Sabha immediately for a minimum of for 5 days or the remaining term or the duration of the session. Okay. All right. Then yes, now we have another piece of article on the definition of industry. Okay, so it has been in news since yesterday. The Supreme Court is now set to start a hearing. It's going to be a 9-judge bench on the definition of industry. This bench will be headed by Suryakant, that is the Chief Justice of India. And why is this being undertaken? Because the government, because the Supreme Court asked the government whether a canteen run in a defense research organization would be considered as industry or a sovereign function. Now, the definition of industry was for the first time given under Industry Dispute Industrial Dispute Act of 1947. Okay, so as per the Industrial Dispute Act, an industry is basically any systematic activity that is carried on by cooperation between an employer and his workman. Okay, so it can be for any minimum production process, to undertake any production process, supply or distribution of goods, where it is an activity of cooperation which is being undertaken between an employer and his group of workers. All right, then it was, somewhat amended in the year 1970s. Now it has been undertaken because post 1991, when liberalization, privatization and globalization was brought in India, there was no such basic revision that was undertaken. So now the court seeks to revise the entire definition, asking the government to do so. All right. Yeah, see, post-liberalization, what should be the scope of industrial definition has been questioned by the Supreme Court of India. Okay, now a very good initiative outlined yesterday by the top court, that is by the Supreme Court, where previously it was suggested that if any, what is the order? The court has said that all mothers who have adopted a child, that child be of any age, be it a child bigger than a newborn, bigger than an infant, a child of any age, if the child has been adopted, all adoptive mothers who have adopted the child will be entitled to maternity leaves. All right, and why is this a welcome step? And this maternity leave should be of around 12 weeks. So when we look at a 12-week maternity leave, it amounts to a total of 3 months. All right. Previously, as per the labor codes, social security codes of 2020, it was said that maternity benefits are extended to mothers who've actually given birth, and they are given a maternity leave of 6 months. All right. But it was only recognized that adoptive mothers who are adopting a baby who is less than 3 months of age, they will be extended maternity leaves. But children above 3 months of age, if they are being adopted, then such mothers would not be extended maternity leave. However, the Supreme Court has said that the child can be of any age, and the child who's being adopted, it needs to adjust to a new environment, etc., needs to be looked after by the mother and the father as well. So the parents would be entitled to maternity leaves. Also, the top court has pitched in for ensuring paternity leaves also, extending paternity leaves also to new fathers. Okay. Yes. All right. Then Sonam Wangchuk has been released from prison, has been released from detention. He was detained under the provisions of the National Security Act 1980, and as per the act, anybody who incites the masses, and his incitation results in violence, could be detained under the National Security Act. So last year in September, it was believed that he incited the people of Ladakh into violent protests, which resulted in deaths of 4 Ladakhi protesters and injury to a lot many others. So he has been released now. Why did that entire protest take place? I had taken it up 2 days back, that the entire protest took place because the people of Ladakh were demanding statehood with inclusion in the 6th schedule, as the 2 demands that have still till now not been fulfilled by the government of India since the abrogation of Article 317, the year 2019. Now, after release from detention, Sonam Wangchuk has issued a statement that he is ready to negotiate with the government, and even if the government wants to delay it, at least the government should bring them to the negotiating table to speak with each other, talk amongst themselves, and then come to a conclusive decision. And he's even willing to that as of now, either inclusion in the 6th schedule or statehood, either of the two could also do fine and well for the people of Ladakh. Okay. All right. Then Omar Khalid, he is a person from the Jawaharlal Nehru University in Delhi, and he was detained by the police authorities in 2020 because it is believed that he led the violent protests against the Citizenship Amendment Act of 2019. So he was detained since then. Now a UN forum has said that his detention is arbitrary. Arbitrary meaning illegal, only on the whims and fancies of one particular individual without any legal basis of it. And this particular UN forum has asked for release of, and the UN forum is naturally Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the Human Rights Commission. They have basically asked for his release now. Okay. And then the UN has also condemned displacement of Palestinians in the West Bank because of the entire war that is taking place there since the past 2-3 years now. And Donald Trump was also set to meet Xi Jinping by the end of March, but now given the entire geopolitical crisis that is happening in West Asia, he's asked his Chinese counterpart to extend the or delay the meet. All right. Then we have a transgenders bill that was released just a few days back. We'll take it up in the editorial session. The NCTP, that is the National Council for Transgender Persons, they have opposed this particular bill. Okay. Then coming to the editorials, a wonderful editorial today on Navroz. Okay. Now Navroz is a Parsi New Year festival, and this particular festival is basically celebrated on vernal equinox. Vernal equinox simply implies 21st of March. It is on 21st of March that the sun is vertically overhead on the equator. Okay. And when the sun is vertically overhead on the equator, then it simply implies that the sun's rays are equally falling on the entire Earth's surface, due to which we experience equal lengths of day and night on almost all places on the Earth's surface. Okay. So it is on 21st of March that every year Navroz festival is celebrated. Other than that, before the Navroz, that actually Navroz festival, whichever Wednesday, just the Wednesday preceding Navroz, the 21st of March, that day is celebrated as Chahar Shanbe Suri. Okay. Chahar Shanbe Suri. Chahar Shanbe Suri is lighting of the eternal fire. Okay. Now, why fire? Fire is worshipped as per Zoroastrianism, and Zoroastrianism, the followers of Zoroastrianism are basically known as Parsis, and they observe and celebrate the festival of Navroz. So the entire article talks about Navroz, its entire, significance of how it portrays good over evil, how they celebrate a major feast and everything, and also that post the 1979, preceding the 1979 revolution, the people of Iran, they actually well celebrated Navroz. But then after the Islamic takeover in Iran, Navroz has been given a sideline by the Islamic regime. Okay, so do go through it. Good article. Then China brought in ethnic law just a few days back. So we have a good deep dive today. And as per this ethnic law, the Chinese government seeks to bring about a synonymous or a homogeneous Chinese identity for the entire population of China, for everybody in China, through which they actually seek to impose Mandarin language on everybody, and the Hun China and the Chinese culture, Han Chinese culture on everybody in China. All right. Now, China is a country which has a large number of diversities like we have in India, and just to bring about homogenization of the entire country, they are imposing the Han Chinese culture as well as the Mandarin language on everybody. Okay, so do go through it. Then here, just wanted to flag India's Goldilocks era. So India's Goldilocks, or Goldilocks as a term, simply implies a moderate, a very balanced, a very balanced approach to something. So Goldilocks era simply implies that we did not have any deficit, we did not have any surplus, and we were managing fairly well. So now we are under this, we are suffering from this major oil shock, and this energy shock is somehow resulting, or being a concerted threat to India's moderately well balanced energy scenario. Okay, so why? Because now everybody knows we are suffering from this major LNG and PNG crisis, that there is this entire that there is this entire shortage of natural gas that we are suffering from in India. So everything goes fairly well, moderately well, and then something like this happens. So right now the global energy shock is somehow going to threaten India's entire energy balance. Okay. Then the Transgender Protection Amendment Bill, and why has it attracted major criticism? Now this amendment bill is to be an amendment on the Transgenders Protection Act of 2019. As per the 2019 Act, it was said that any person giving somebody the tag or criteria of a transgender could be undertaken on the principle of self-declaration as well, meaning that the person themselves could declare that they belong to a transgender category, that they identify themselves as a transgender. Okay, now this has been changed in the new amendment bill, and they've said that a medical board supervision, after a medical board's examination and then final declaration by the district magistrate, can ascertain somebody as a transgender, and no longer can somebody self-claim themselves as a transgender person. All right. So what is who is a transgender person? Is somebody who does not align themselves with whatever other two basic gender criteria or sex criteria in the normal scenario. Okay. So when we look at sex simply implies the biological anatomy of any particular child or individual, that on the outward, how does a person look, whether it look wise it aligns with the boy's criteria, physical characteristics, or a female's physical characteristic. And then gender is simply the basic social attributes that are associated with any particular sex attributes. All right. For example, that females are supposed to be, girls are supposed to be very feminine, they're supposed to know certain way of sitting, eating, drinking, household work, etc., etc. Everything that has been socialized by the society. And men are supposed to be more masculine, heavier voice, everything, etc. So gender is that is attributed by the society, and sex is your biological outlook. Okay. So proposed changes in the bill. Now they've given a narrower definition that who can be considered as a transgender, that any child or adult who has been compelled to assume a transgender criteria through mutilation, emasculation, castration, etc., then removal of self-identification, which was upheld by the 2019 Act. And it also makes a provision for the medical board, where the medical board can ascertain whether a person is a transgender or not, and then obviously punishment, that if anybody discriminates against them, undertakes any discriminatory slurs against them, then they will be punished for in the sense that imprisonment of 6 months to 2 years plus a fine, etc. Right? The bill has been criticized because they have taken away the person's right to self-declare themselves as a transgender. Okay. Then the next article is again on Northeast India, and what were the basic demands, not Northeast India, of Ladakh, and what were the basic demands that Sonam Wangchuk and the people of Ladakh had with the central government. And now the Sonam Wangchuk is ready to come to a compromising situation, that either of the two demands, that is a statehood or inclusion in the 6th schedule, could for the time being suffice. Okay. Then BRICS, you all know that India is set to host the 18th BRICS Summit later this year, but then again, and we've also unveiled the logo and the website and everything, but then again, this year we have this problem that some of the members of the BRICS, like Saudi Arabia, UAE and Iran, they are full-time members of BRICS, and they are all engaged in the war. So we still are very doubtful whether all of them are going to come to the same table to undertake BRICS discussion. All right. So along with all the cultural exchanges, economic exchanges that BRICS member countries do take place, they also undertake cooperation in science, technology and information sectors, and how this is beneficial for everyone, all the members of the BRICS. All right. Then this particular article is a very good take on how the political parties in Kerala, just to garner a good vote bank, especially amongst the women, they have taken a very lenient stance towards the entire Sabrimala issue. So the Sabrimala issue is set to be heard in the Supreme Court on the 7th of April, and a verdict had come in the favor of women belonging to the reproductive ages in 2018, where women belonging to the age group 10 to 50 years were permitted to offer their worship in the Sabrimala temple. Then there were massive protests from the more conservative groups in Kerala, where they said that it takes away the basic essence and purity of the temple, and the entire verdict should be revisited by the Supreme Court. All right. So that is set to take place, but we do have certain political parties who are now taking a very lenient stance towards the entire Sabrimala issue. Then coming to the terminologies for today, the first one that we have is oil shock redux. So redux simply comes from the word recurrence. So oil shock recurrence is that it is not something that has happened to India for the first time this time. It is something that has continuously occurred previously also. Severe oil shortages, sudden oil supply disruptions is not something that India is suffering from the first time. We also saw it during the 1970s, during the Yom Kippur War and the Gulf crisis, and we are going through it again. Okay. Then IRDAI, it is an abbreviation which stands for in the Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India, and it is this particular organization which is responsible for undertaking, overseeing all the insurance related initiatives, companies, etc. in the country. All right, this particular authority was established in 1999. Its head is chairman is Ajay Seth, and it is basically a 10-member body. Okay. Then in 1965, the first Soviet cosmonaut went to space, and he is no other than Yuri Gagarin. All right. So that is all for today's newspaper analysis, and I'll see you soon with the next one. Thank you.